Hey, welcome to Garage Talk. As always, I'm Conrad. Let's go.
I'm Ted. It's time to rock and roll.
Hey, Teddy. Today in the garage, we have with us from the Gas City Brewing Company, not a bartender, not a beer sommelier, but a fan of the Barley and Hops, a fan of beer, Vince Sly.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey.
Thanks for coming.
We appreciate you. Settle down, people. We appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us.
Awesome.
Do us a favor and give us a little bit of your background. Where are you from, man?
Okay, so originally the West Coast. I know. Everybody's going to say the West Coast. Well, he must be liberal. He must be... But no, really. The West Coast, let's say the South Lake Tahoe corridor to Sacramento and then to San Francisco. Yeah, so that's my lineage. Yeah, and I'm in Indiana now because, as we all know, there was what some people would say is a zombie apocalypse that took place in 2019, 2020. Mm-hmm. And family brings us home. Mm-hmm. And so that's why Indiana is Plan B. You know, California is a great place.
Mm-hmm. Plan B.
It is now in flux, and Indiana is a place of family and new experiences. You know, mm-hmm. Life is an adventure, and everybody should. If you have an adventure to California, it's a must. It's the West Coast. It's not as liberal as y'all think. Just saying. But so here I am in Indiana, in Gas City. As you spoke before, I'm working in the fantastic and always jovial Gas City Brewery.
That place is, it's becoming a place where the people are gathering.
Correct. And that's really what a watering hole mm-hmm. is for people of all ages and like-minded people that enjoy a good ale, a good pint, a good conversation. I don't remember the song from Cheers, but if we had a backtrack, we could probably where everybody knows your name. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially really what we want to strive for, and we've always wanted to strive for, is to welcome people in and give them the experience that they don't really get to have a lot of the times.
Right. So how many times does someone need to come in before you remember their name?
Oh, geez.
It just depends on the tip?
Well, not very good. Well, that helps. That definitely helps. You know, to be honest, that's a hard question to answer because everybody has their own unique way of ordering a drink or expecting to drink or enjoying beer. And I'm going to say 3 or 4. But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
You know, again, we have such a diverse client base of locals, of fans of craft beer that travel to breweries from far off lands mm-hmm. that find us on the web. You know, the great white web, wide web. Not necessarily white, but wide. Just to be clear.
Yeah.
And what was the question again?
How many times that?
How many times?
Yeah. But
it's weird. It depends on it really depends on how often people like to come in. You get to know the locals, mm-hmm. and thank God because they really are the backbone of creating and helping us maintain such a great vibe for a small business mm-hmm. in Middle America that happens to serve craft beer, which is still a lot of people, I don't know if they realize that it's a niche business. And while we hear the numbers, craft breweries are everywhere, and there's a renaissance of craft brewery, and not all breweries are the same.
No.
Okay.
No.
And we just, we're fortunate and lucky enough to have people with passion that either brew the beer, run the business, sell the beer, and of course drink the beer. Me being one of them. Cheers to you guys.
That's what we're doing right now.
I'm actually drinking a bit of the Argyle Scottish Ale, crafted beautifully by Gas City Brewery.
Exactly. Just like the Spotted Rat that Conrad and I are sipping on.
Well, right now I'm with the Coors family, but I'm going to be going back
Which
to
is a fine Colorado Pilsner, by the way.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
It's very delicious and refreshing.
No, that's, so Vince, working at the brewery, you're kind of like a barber.
A bit.
Because you guys know everything, right?
Well,
Or you're told everything.
We get told, yes. We are the arbitrators of news. And a lot of conversations that take place are from high to low. So we get conversations about local politics and national politics to pipes freezing because it's butt chilling cold at the moment.
Pretty much.
And, so we are somewhat of a barber. We hear a lot of stuff. And not all of it's important.
Well, to them it is, but...
There are, true.
And that's where you have to turn into a counselor.
That's where, just listening is
Right.
important. And people want to be heard, and they don't want therapy. They
Right.
just want to have a place that they can come and kick it, have a couple of beers, talk to some people, and look forward to tomorrow. Or whatever might be happening that evening.
Right.
Yeah, so we, as bartenders, we are sort of a sounding board.
Yeah.
For a lot of things, a lot of people, a lot of instances where we listen.
Yeah.
And we nod and we approve or we disapprove, and hopefully there isn't conflict.
Yeah, but how often do you deal with conflict in the craft brewery setting? Because craft brewery, they kind of began in the 1960s and increased in popularity with homebrew.
Right.
In the 70s, and then the micro breweries really boomed in the 90s.
Right.
How often do you deal with?
Not often. I mean, the only time we really deal with conflict is if we're out of something, or if if we blow a keg and somebody's a fan, hardcore fan, a true lover of a specific style of beer, the upheaval is palpable. And we have had situations where we've not had a specific beer that is loved on tap for a moment because we're continually brewing all the time.
Right.
That really is the only conflict that we ever have.
Are there expectations when people walk through the door? Hey, if there's not Boomtown Blonde or Spotted Rat in here, I'm leaving.
Conflict, no, but there's a attitude of, well, but that's the beer I like. Well, there's a lot of beers that people like, and so we try to stay within the reality of being a small scale brewery, keeping great beer, even if it's not the one that you are particularly looking for, on tap. And we have plenty of beers that we can steer you towards or away from if you do find that your favorite beer isn't presently on tap.
I look at it like when I go into a brewery, I try, Vince. I do. I try to be open-minded. I try things. And you know what? It's okay if you don't like something.
Correct.
It is. It's okay if you don't like something. But when you go into a brewery that is, constantly, trying different brews and different things, you should kind of expect to not have whatever it is that you're looking to get to not be there. I've went to restaurants looking to get a lobster mac and cheese, and every time they don't have it because that's, what I'm thinking.
Could that be a real popular dish that they do continue?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Strive to make.
Yeah.
But because people love it so much,
It's gone.
That
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah.
And that, that in business, that's what you want. You want to sell out. You
Right.
want not to sell out in a quote unquote sell out, but
Yeah.
you want to give people what they want. And there are going to be those times when sometimes we're just out.
Right.
It's not that we are discontinuing it, but we're just temporarily out. And that is something that in life we just all deal with.
Yeah.
I mean,
Some things are seasonal.
sometimes there's no milk at the grocery.
That's right.
Sometimes eggs are too expensive.
Well, and like you said, you guys can steer people in the right direction if they're out of what you want. There's probably something pretty similar
Similar
to what they
or-
like.
Or there's a natural progression from
Yeah.
different styles of beer to other styles of beer. And that's what we've crafted and curated really at the brewery that I currently work at, is that we've got Pilsners to ales to Belgians to Hefeweizens to stouts and porters and
Your sours.
and sours, and we don't necessarily do sours. We do guest taps of sours because we just don't have the facility
Yep.
and the scale to brew craft beer and sours, because it is a completely different chemistry
Right.
when it comes to sours. But we do try, we have sister, not sister breweries, but we have like breweries in the area that we have befriended and we have sort of encouraged, as they encourage us to grow craft beer and microbrew into public consciousness. And we, we are working with them in tandem to really just spread the word of how craft beer and style of beer is. Beer is the number one drank alcoholic beverage in the USA.
Right.
It is the number one. Milwaukee, I believe, is probably the city in the U.S. that drinks more beer than anyone. I think Michigan might be between Milwaukee and great towns in Michigan. Michigan right now is probably per capita the largest brew capital in the U.S. And we are just one state away, people.
That's
Beer is like the most popular alcoholic beverage worldwide. But I can say, I think there's some Hoosiers that would make the U.S. drinking team, beer drinking team.
Huzzah!
Because I'll tell you right now, I mean,
I know a couple.
I wouldn't try and go to Wisconsin and try and challenge anybody at the local pub, because you always have that one guy who.
Yeah, I saw Animal House.
But to me, breweries, they're just, it's just a whole different vibe than your local beer bar.
Right. And that's
The atmosphere.
that's something that we have really, and most breweries are finding that there are people that are lovers of the craft, and they're honest with you. If it's not a style or if it's not a flavor that they find to be within the reality of, say, a Pilsner or a Hefeweizen, they will give you feedback. And that's something that when you go into a normal tap room or a bar, you're not going to get that sort of feedback. And the feedback is something that's really important for us and for brewing in general. Is and it's consistency and staying consistent. You know, I'm a big proponent of, if I have a favorite thing, say lobster mac and cheese or a porter, and I don't live in the area, but I remember this, it holds in my memory, and I go back, and they've tweaked it or they've changed the recipe.
Right.
That is the consistency that I would like to see more prevalent, because sometimes things change, and we're always trying to improve things. Well, what's the adage? If it's not broke,
Don't fix it.
don't fix it. Right.
Yeah.
And we are.
But can you tinker with it?
We're not perfect. Yeah, I mean, we tinker, and, we've got ingredients, and, we've got, input from other fantastic brewers that say, hey, listen, I discovered this new hop, or I've discovered this new fermentation process, or there's new equipment out there. But there's sort of that give and take. Like, we're trying to make something that's enjoyed and loved by the public, and let's just stay consistent with that.
Yeah.
Let's stay consistent with that. There's a lot of craft breweries that are brewing for small scale, and then there are breweries that really brew for large scale distribution. We at Gas City Brewery are craft beer lovers, so we're going to brew for specific styles, and working into distribution is something that we think about, but it's something that we work into small scale in the sense.
About how many different kinds of brews do you guys have?
Well, right now we brew anywhere from 12 to 14.
Okay.
So we'll have, consistently we try to have about 12 beers that we brew on tap at all times. There are going to be times where something's popular, or, in situations where we have different festivals that we're attending, or we have events that take place, over the summertime, where we're at, where we do, we try to stay ahead of the curve, and we try not to go into deficit, but sometimes we just go into deficit where we've got stuffs in brights and fermenters that are just about there, that are just a couple of days out. But yeah, there are times when we try not to ever go below 10 beers. We definitely have 10 beers on tap at all times, which you can find, on our website, at Facebook. We try to keep that sort of updated, so when people are coming from out of town, because we are, in the middle of Indiana, and when people are looking online for breweries, they want to see what's available.
Yep.
And we try to make sure that stays updated.
Yeah.
We're all human. Sometimes that doesn't happen as consistently, but we try, like I said, we try to stay on top of that, in our social networking, and different avenues that we try to get out to the public. Those things are really important, because that's the world we live in now.
Yeah. Since being in the Midwest, what differences in beer drinking or craft beer drinking have you noticed?
I think we are, I think we're in the golden era of real good beer drinking. I think we have so many different types of breweries that are crafting really great styles of beer. I do know that there are, excuse me, a large number of IPAs. I think IPAs are in a renaissance right now. Really hoppy styles. And I think that a lot of that misconception of craft beers are that's all that's being brewed is really hoppy IPAs. And I think when people are looking at good craft beer microbreweries, they are looking for a variety. And like I said, I think we're in a IPA sort of renaissance right now, but there, you know, I mean, there were, back in the 90s, I think we had a huge dark beer era of porters and stouts and dunkels and great German style dark beers. But that's going to be the ebb and flow of craft beer and styles of beer making. And as people come into the business and as people grow their business and discover that trends are trends, but good beer making is really the most important part. And again, we've got IPAs, you know, that are fantastic. But there are also breweries out there that just consistently do IPAs. And if that's their jam, that's their jam. But having that variety is, I think, where we're headed in craft beer making.
So, but something else which is neat that I see you guys up there, I know you're involved, the owners are involved, but then you've got a lot of your regulars. You guys will get together on a weekend and go try out some new restaurant or some new brewery, or just the family atmosphere uptown has.
You guys go road tripping?
Yes,
We actually, yeah.
There are fancy restaurants too. Try them out.
Okay, so I'm a lover of food,
Yep.
and I'm a lover of service and customer service.
Oh, yeah.
And we sit in a small portion of Indiana that unfortunately isn't as, I'm going to say this, I'm going to probably get a lot of haters, isn't customer service forward. So when we travel out of town to restaurants or breweries, or lounges or bars or, you know, events, we are going because we want that sort of care that is given to a paying customer in an establishment. We want that sort of service. And we're a lot of times in the area that I'm at, that we're in now, we don't get that. There's nothing more annoying than going into a restaurant and having that server look at you like this is the last place they want to be. And there are times when we have to get out of town because we're living in that sort of, why do I have to be here? You want, well, what temperature do you want your burger? That's annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, we all hate that. That's just the worst thing. And it just, you know, the service industry is essential to keeping the small economy working.
Yeah.
Small business. You walk into let's just say a florist, and if they're annoyed that you're there, you don't want to shop there.
Right.
If you walk into a small boutique and they're annoyed that you're there, do you really want to shop there? If you walk into a bar and the bartender looks at you with daggers and is on his cell phone or their cell phone and would rather talk on their cell phone and take that time away from selling something to you, it's just annoying. So there are times when there are groups of us that get together and head out of town and have found some fantastic places to eat and drink and be catered to and be taken care of.
And that's because the more I get to know you and watch you and listen to you, you are very observant. And I'm sure that goes back to, you've been involved in customer service, you've been in hospitality.
Right.
You've been involved with all that stuff throughout your life.
Right.
So you are observing the minute details.
Well, somewhat, but it's not that hard to smile at somebody.
True.
And say, how can I help you?
Uh-huh.
What is it that brings you in? A good thank you and a welcome isn't that hard. It is a simple gesture that will take you miles.
Yes.
And we unfortunately, and I don't know if it was the zombie apocalypse / pandemic that took place, that has allowed us to fall into this sense of complacency or this sense of dread that the whole world is against me and, I can't, you pay your bills. If you're nice to people, especially if you're in customer service, guess what? People are giving you extra money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To take care of your business.
Uh-huh.
I think it's public knowledge that a server is not making what, their livelihood is depending on these tips.
Right.
So if I was a server, which I've experienced some really good customer service with a waiter or waitress, or bartender, whoever was serving a drink or food to me,
Right.
they would be just as upset when I didn't get what I asked for. And they were quickly, hey, I'm going to take care of this for you. I'm going to make sure we make this right. And that is like, I appreciate the crap out of that so much.
Right. It should never have to get to a manager.
Right. Yeah.
It should never have to get to an owner. There should never be that chain of events that it gets so bad that you couldn't have fixed it from the get-go. Should never get to that point. And we I mean, like I said, we're in a void at this point when it comes to helping people get what they want. And when it comes to customer service, when it comes to service in general, a lot of times we fall short in not giving people what they need and what they want. Because they are providing, they are, and bartending and waiting tables is it's a job where if it's done right, it's lucrative and it's successful. But if it's done wrong, it not only hurts your bottom line, but it angers other people because they know they've had in the past, they've had great service in the past, and they've had proper courtesy from people in that business. And when it falls short, it's a very obvious thing. And people don't realize that we are underpaid in the service industry, as well as our teachers. And don't get me wrong, we are not the only downtrodden, but we have such a. It's not hard to be kind to people, and it's not hard to give people the smallest bit of expectation of what they want. But when you fall short, it reflects poorly on all of us.
Yeah.
And in the industry. So when people come into a place and they are expected to tip, and there's controversy now with European countries don't tip. Why does American countries have to tip? Well, European countries pay their people differently than we do here in the States.
I think what it is now whenever you purchase something, it doesn't matter what it is. There's a tip board on the screen. Do you want to tip 10, 15, 20%? Like, it's all calculated out for you, or you can
Makes
do
it really easy, people.
Yeah, custom tip. But it's I think people are tipped out now to where, like, you could go to a local restaurant, which I don't mind tipping. I really don't. Unless I know I have trouble tipping that way because I don't know where it's going. The other night, I paid for my bill with a card, but I tipped with cash.
Right.
It's even though I'm of that age where, you know, I'm not distrustful, but I want to know that this tip isn't being touched by anybody else.
Right. Right.
Except
the big government sort of situation. And, you know, and that's always the adage, is that we are paid such a minuscule amount in a wage. In the service industry, people, we don't make minimum wage because we are a tipped employee.
Yep.
And the small amount of wage that comes with a hourly position working in a bar or restaurant isn't livable. It isn't a living wage.
It's not even comparable.
Well, and more often than not, people, I mean, is the minimum wage a living wage?
No.
I mean, really. So when you take that down by a third of what service people in the industry are making, you do rely on that, and letting the person working in that service dictate, because the government does want a claim of tip, and there is a specific amount that they are anticipating, and there are unfortunately honest people and dishonest people. So a lot of times people aren't being consistent with what they're receiving as tips,
Right.
so, and they're giving back to the government, and that's unfortunate, and that screws all of us, with the dishonesty. If we can stay consistent with that, that's just what needs to happen. Just stay consistent. I've worked in the industry for over 30 years. I've never had to pay taxes. I've always gotten a small return, but there are times when I've worked in restaurants. I worked in a few restaurants in San Francisco and made bank. But I declared what I needed to declare.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never had to pay the government for taxes. I've always gotten a small return because I was honest about what I was making. And it allowed me to live in a fantastic place for a long, long time.
Which most parents teach their kids, honesty's the best policy.
It always is. It always is.
I agree. Because whatever you do wrong, it's going to be found out.
So, with 30 years being behind the bar or in customer service, I know you got some good stories. I know you got some crazy stories.
What's a good story?
Throw out some famous people that you've served.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
famous people. Okay, so this goes. I mean, what dictates fame? Are we Olympic athletes? Or
Olympic athletes, musicians,
rock and roll
actors,
musicians?
actresses.
Okay. So
astronauts.
all right, astronauts. Not so
anybody
much.
on the
Astronauts,
Epstein
not so
list.
much. Nothing. As far as I know, nothing
Silicon
on the
Valley.
Epstein list. I did. You know what? I did. I worked in an Asian Peijiwu, which is a
What the?
Okay, so a Peijiwu is a food of the Asian countryside. Now, I'm in San Francisco, which, there's a very large population of Asian descent people, multi-generations. And Asian food is very Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, whatever it might be, Taiwanese, Vietnamese. So I was fortunate enough to serve Christine Namaguchi, and she was lovely. I also have given beers to Stephen Jenkins from Third Eye Blind, so here's the kicker with Third Eye Blind. So one of my favorite bands in the Bay Area for a long time was a band called, now I'm going to really have to think about this. And when I mean favorite band, it's a band that I listen to a lot called Fungo Mungo. And they were a funk band, all of Primus, Red Hot Chili Peppers, back in those funk days. And so Stephen Jenkins was the lead singer of Third Eye Blind, and he didn't break up, but disbanded my favorite band, Fungo Mungo, to take that bass player into third eye blind. You know, things like that. I mean, celebrities are always, it's always nice to run into people and to see people, and they're just normal people. They just want to be treated like everybody else. Do they tip any better? Not necessarily, you know. But yeah, I mean, horror stories though. I mean, horror stories are, you know, being in the weeds, 6 tables back, and trying to figure out, you know, how do you, you know, and that happens in restaurants and bars where ice machines go down, glasses get broken in glass, and you have to drain. I mean, so there are those moments where you're like, holy F-bomb. But yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not life or death. It's just giving people a great time, good food, good drink, sending them on their way. And we live now in an age of online interpretation. Back in the day when I started, it was just word of mouth.
Right.
You got business because somebody said, you know what? I had a great experience at such and such, or I had the best drink over at blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That was a word of mouth thing. We now live in a cycle of criticism without, with the anonymity of not being known.
Yeah.
And that is a real bummer. That's a pisser. I mean, when somebody can say, this was terrible, this was awful.
The keyboard warriors.
Yeah, and it sucks. It sucks because they're, I'm going to say probably 20 to 30% correct, but then there are just these brutal assholes out there that find a kink in the armor, and as soon as that kink in the armor is found, they just tear it up. And what people don't understand are these people's livelihoods. I mean, when you have a small business, and mind you, people that are in small business restaurant or mom and pop bars, they're not raking in the dough. And the smallest amount of criticism, in a lot of ways, tears that down, and it's not always accurate.
The damn Yelp reviews.
It's, you know, the damn Yelp reviews, you know, and, you know, I don't find that consistent in the area that I am now, but that Yelp review can really hurt a small business.
Make or break them.
You know, and we live in a society of excess. I mean, we as Americans, all we want to do is consume. And what we're finding, what I'm finding specifically, is that when we consume, we got to leave some meat on the bone. You know, we've got to give a little bit of credit for, and a little leeway to a lot of this stuff. That if you read a review, they say it sucks, you be the judge of that.
Yes.
You be the judge of that.
Try it yourself.
Because a review, especially when it comes to an online review, doesn't really allow your opinion or your take on it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if it's just, there are trolls out there that will attack a specific business with just a loop of bad reviews.
But there's some people that you just can't please.
There are some people. There are some people.
So when I look at a restaurant or a bar and I read the reviews, I go to the top reviews and I read the top rated reviews, and then I'll go to the bottom reviews and I'll read the top or the bottom, you know, the low star reviews.
Minus the in between.
And then I'll say, well, you know, this guy said the service was great, and this guy says the service was horrible.
Right.
Was this guy pleasant to deal with, and this guy was an asshole?
That's never part of the review. Was I a jerk to these people? Were my expectations so great that I couldn't receive the service that...
I like that, Vince. I'm going to start my review. Okay, today I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and I might have been an asshole.
Amen.
But I sat there for 10 and a half minutes with an empty beer and a lukewarm steak. So take that with a grain of salt.
Right. But let me tell you that this is how my day, when a review comes out or somebody says, oh, this was crap or whatever, there's a backstory to that that we never get to see on a keyboarded review.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you come in and you talk to somebody, or if you sometimes the word of mouth is the way to go when it comes to how you support business, and that's, take that or leave it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have choices to make. I always say when people leave the brewery, I always say, make good choices, and of course watch for deer.
Watch for deer.
Because it's cold back here and deer are on the move, and the deer will total your car.
Yeah, I will. Well, but then, speaking of reviews, in a lot of these reviews people put out, it was a one-time experience. Maybe you're a server that day. Maybe he just found out that morning that his wife was sleeping with a neighbor.
God forbid. God forbid. But I've heard worse things happen.
That's an odd example. I usually give. It's so crazy because I'll give people second chances or restaurants.
We all deserve a second chance.
Everybody gets a second chance. So I've been to places the very first time. Delicious. The most this is the best hot pepper cheeseburger.
Was it succulent?
No, this hot pepper cheeseburger was so good. The second time I went there,
on fire.
I took a bite of that hot pepper cheeseburger. You know what was on it? The paper from the hot pepper cheese.
Oops. Yeah.
So I've had where I've been to places where I was like, man, that baked potato was not baked. And then I went back and I was like, oh my gosh, it was
Twice baked.
Right. Or underbaked. Or hash browned.
No,
Or whatever it might be, yeah.
Sometimes I've been to places, it'd be really good. Sometimes it'd be really bad.
Right. And we all have
Yeah.
we all have bad days, or we all have under the weather days, or and we have great days. Like nobody ever says, you know what, I had the greatest experience at this restaurant, blah, 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 yada, 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 because I was having a great day.
Yeah.
A review, and you're going to find more bad reviews than good reviews. And that's unfortunate. We don't live in oh my God, I had the greatest dinner.
Yes,
We're not putting a review on because for whatever reason, a bad review is the only thing that sort of steers us to get on or talk about or, how horrible it was, as opposed to how great it was. When was the last time you wrote a review or told somebody how great something was? I mean, you have to share that stuff, especially when it comes to small business, small brewery.
Well, but we live in such a negative society these days.
In social media.
Yeah, you don't see how often do you see anything positive on the news? They might save it for the last 30 seconds of the newscast.
It sucks that we're in a news cycle of depravity. It really does. It's unfortunate because there are good things happening in the world. People are enlightened. People have things great to say and great things to do. But it's unfortunate that doesn't sell media.
Nope.
Yeah, Vince, I'm guilty of it because when I see people arguing on Facebook, honey, pop some popcorn. Come here and look at this.
Right.
I'm guilty of it too because sometimes it is captivating. I mean,
salacious.
Yeah, but especially in this day and age, because we are living in a TikTok world where our attention span is like
2 seconds.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Well, what's a typical TikTok?
Yeah, we're pretty much. I think it's around a minute, but we're pretty much goldfish now. Like,
right.
It's hard for me to watch a movie or a TV show and not have a phone in my hand. Like, I've got to make a conscious effort
Put it down.
to put that thing down. Now, there's some people that they have become so good at it that, like, I'm jealous of them because they can, like, you know how people say, hey, you don't return my text in time.
Okay,
Those people,
that's a gripe of mine. What is the time?
oh,
And why do we care so much about it?
the text etiquette?
Yeah. Why do we care so much about it? Actual conversation with an actual human is really what got us through how many freaking years have we been on this planet, you guys? And we can't figure out the text time of, I mean, is that really a big problem?
Well, I think it's like, hey, your husband needs this transplant, yes or no?
I'll get back to that.
And then a text.
And then you get a text, and then
Yeah.
you get a text. Sorry, I woke up to this text. Sure. And he's like, well, it's too late because we gave you that liver to somebody else.
Oops.
Yeah. I don't know what the text etiquette. It just depends on how important the response is, I guess. Because some things, you know, if I'm in a movie.
In a movie?
Not starring in a movie,
Okay.
but if I'm at the movies,
Don't search too far back on the internet either.
Don't search the deep web.
if I'm watching a movie, I'll be like, "Hey, man, can't talk right now." In a movie, that's my response. Or you know, but I don't know. There's some things that are text worthy.
Right.
And
now, when do you disconnect? Do you disconnect as a human? Do you disconnect from
Yes.
that
when
uncivilized
sleep,
world?
when
Okay.
I go to sleep, I need sleep.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how far is your phone away from your sleeping head?
A foot,
See, that's too close.
and that's the length of my arm
Too
because
close.
I'm tiny.
Too close. I'm
short.
Put it in another room. Allow yourself that moment to disconnect from that. You know, when was the last time you were out of range with your cell phone?
Hey,
Everybody needs
we're gonna start the disconnect challenge.
I think that's genius. Really, I mean, put the phone in another room when you sleep.
We have
You don't
kids.
need to be that close to those kids. Most of our kids are grown. You
When I
guys.
was in high school-
grown ass people.
When I was in high school, we had a payphone in the lunchroom, or not in the lunchroom, but in the lunch area.
Check this out, people.
Now
that
we have-
cost $1.
Yeah. Well, it was a quarter.
What's your cell phone bill these days?
Yeah, exactly.
So, kids now, they can't leave the house without their cell phone.
It's pathetic.
And
That's just my personal opinion.
yeah,
That's my opinion.
And I understand that, but I think people have developed a learned behavior of I need to know where my kid is, and then they can see because they have the phone,
Right.
and that phone they can track it. Okay,
Creepy.
it is a little bit because,
Yeah.
and again, I'm guilty of it.
Okay, so we're of the age where we had BMX bikes back in the day. We didn't have phones. We just got home when the street lights came
Yep,
on, right?
it's-
And our parents trusted us.
Yes. You know what
Where
time
did
supper is.
Where did trust go? I mean, granted, we are living in a more technological age where creepiness happens more often, especially in technology. When do we disconnect from that? And so a disconnect challenge, I think, seems pretty spot on, is how long can we go without having, oh, I don't know, who's a big TikTok star these days? I don't follow TikTok. I'm not, you know what's surprising? I don't have social media, people.
He doesn't.
You know, I like the contact of human interaction.
And it's probably a good thing because if you got on TikTok or Facebook or
Rabbit
X or
hole.
yeah, it turns into a rabbit hole because
Don't make me start singing Jefferson Airplane, 'cause I will.
okay, so Dee and I was we woke up this morning, changed the diaper, fed the baby, and
That's real life.
His.
Yeah.
That's real life.
Yeah, mine. I'm not a grandpa. I am not a grandpa yet. Started watching this, like a TikTok video came up, and it was these two people arguing, and it ended right before the climax.
reveal.
Yeah, the reveal.
yeah.
And Dee's like, and Dee goes, what happened? I said, no, I'm not going to flick over and go through this person's page to see part 2.
No.
I'm not going to do that to myself, because
Canceled.
part 2 becomes part 3.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
not
it's a
going,
vicious circle.
and then there goes 30 minutes of my day. I've got to get my ass
You
up.
got more diapers to change.
And I got
wasn't no spooning.
I got to love on my daughters,
Right.
each one of them.
Right.
I got a birthday girl this weekend. I got to love on my daughters.
Happy birthday.
And get ready, mentally ready for the podcast today.
Right.
And show up.
Which is focus.
Yeah.
Which you have to focus on certain things for more than a minute. That is the existence of a YouTube video or a TikTok or a Facebook post, or life passes you by if you're sitting on your tuchus watching your phone.
And everybody, I say this a lot, don't I, Ted? Everybody's a nib shit nowadays. Everybody's
Nobody's business is their own. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
Yeah.
but nobody's business is better than somebody else's
Right. It's
True.
issues. You know,
like you
I mean,
say, get the popcorn.
Well,
yeah,
you
get
know,
the popcorn.
Oh, so I'm from the West Coast originally, and the big controversy for a long time was the presence of where you are at a particular time of the day, which unfortunately allowed asshole people to go and break into your home and steal your shit. Because you weren't home, and they knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'd post like, I'm in Hawaii.
Right. Or, I'm eating a burger, and then I'm going to go get, my taint waxed or something, And
A Brazilian. I
that's the
said
liberal part of
froyo.
California that you people have no idea.
I'm like froyo. He says Brazilian.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's the time spent and how we spend the time,
Yeah.
and that falls into how we live our everyday, and we're fortunate enough to live in a free country, quote unquote, that allows us time, and it's what we do with our time, and how special our time is with each other that is the most important.
Yeah.
It is. That's
And that's just a full circle moment. And when we don't have the time anymore,
Yeah.
that sucks.
I'm a little bit torn because I got to see my daughter. I got a special privilege that some people don't. Like, I probably
Like a
missed
fast pass at Disneyland.
something like that. I probably missed about two official athletic games of my oldest daughters, and I did not go to any of her practices once she went into organized athletics, such as the school athletics.
Right.
So up until then, I made every practice. I was at every game. And I only missed 2 games from 6th grade till high school.
Hey, that's an achievement.
Yeah. I probably have 3 or 4 videos because I never took videos of her because I wanted to be in the moment and
Right.
witness it with my own eyes. And I really appreciate that now, because even though I think to myself, man, I wish I could look at that video in my
And relive that moment.
it's in your
yeah,
head.
I feel like it's even better in my head.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
the way I felt about that kid, whether it's a success or failure,
Right.
I was with her
Right.
in that moment. And
Well, let me ask you this. Do you feel like we live in a super competitive society?
absolutely.
Yeah. Because I think the same thing.
Yeah.
I think we don't allow ourselves to feel enough defeat in order to balance out the pleasure and the endorphins that we get from succeeding.
Yeah.
You know, and we as humans, I think we have to allow that balance.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Ted, you're a coach. You see that. I mean, Conrad. I mean, you guys are both coaches. You have to balance that sort of achieving and the defeat, and how to allow young people to feel that presence.
You got to get knocked down, learn how to get back up.
Right.
And some people's knockdown is different than others. Like I had struggles in my early 20s that I don't have now.
Right.
But it was the whole.
But that's evolution.
Yeah,
that's how we evolve.
That's like that. There is a Conrad at 47 is not Conrad at 27. I'm just not.
Hallelujah.
No, you know what? I think a lot of people are saying that, especially Deanna.
Kudos to Deanna and whatever this might be that he's just talking about.
Yeah, well, you know, so, you know, Dee, she says it all the time to me, like, you're a wonderful man now.
Right.
And which at the time I thought I was a wonderful man back then, but that was me being selfish.
Yes.
Because no kids, no responsibilities, and a good job make you an asshole. Well, make me, Conrad, an asshole.
Right.
And
well, that's just how
I was careless.
That's how we perceive stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have to get to the hurdles. And the hurdles are there, and it's just a life thing. The hurdles are there for us to figure out how to get over those hurdles, you know, and we don't live in a world of non-hurdles. There's always a wall being thrown up at everybody, and how we utilize that to get over those hurdles is an individual thing. And
Teddy, I don't know if it was like this for you or what it is to other people, but having a child, to me, let me know that the world did not revolve around me. It might be something else for other people, but that for me made, and, you know, I was raised by my grandparents. I was not going to be that father.
Right. Break the cycle.
I was going to be present and aware. I was going to be a teacher and a caregiver.
But you also have to be a student as a parent, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
you
don't know everything as a parent.
No.
And that's the fear that we all live as we go forward, is what the unknown is going to give us or tell us or speak to us about. You know, when we can't, you know, I don't have kids. I have lived I think a successful life up until now with no kids, and kudos to you when you got that realization. But it doesn't take much to be a kind, generous, thoughtful person, and we should all strive for that. You know, we don't have to live in that cycle of discontent. You know, misery doesn't love company. You know, we don't have to live in that. We choose, we have choices that we all make, good, bad, indifferent. We unfortunately live in a society now that isn't really telling us to come together, and just make good choices and be smart about things and live in the land of the free.
And like you said, you know, as a young parent, you're also a student because you're learning how to parent. But you know, you with no kids, you were a student learning how to be a better person.
Right.
As you
Right.
Like you
and
said,
granted, I mean, I have young people in my life. I mean, I have nieces and nephews, and I've got, that sort of structure, but to have, I'm finding now in my older age now that I have a lot of empty nester friends, and having not have kids, being a authentic person, and being my own person. Now I'm in an environment with a lot of people that their kids are grown, and we're all trying to figure out our identity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So now, like, you see these, especially the term red flag.
Okay.
That term and meaning is like a metaphor for saying, here's your sign. I think a lot of that has to do with, hey, here's your red flag, change your life, or here's your red flag, this person isn't good for you.
Right.
That I think that had a grasp on me as a person, as far as, hey, this is the road you're headed down.
Right. So the signs are there,
Yeah.
but you get a flag on the play, and then you make a conscious choice to what?
Go right or go left.
Okay, so change your path.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all change our path. I mean, life is a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't come from the land of everybody gets a trophy. If they're in a sporting event. I mean, if you lost, you lost.
Right.
You figured it out. We don't. We live in such a sort of society now. I think with the populations that we have on the planet, that we have expectations of what we're to do by a certain age, or what our kids are expected to do. The pressures are different. I remember all my reports were with an encyclopedia.
Yep.
And we figured it out. We got through it. We graduated, we went on to college, we succeeded in life. Some of us didn't succeed the way that our parents or society wanted us to, but we figured it out. And we go on and we move on, and we get to a point where I get to be with you guys on a freaking podcast.
That's
and we get to talk about just rando stuff, and that's awesome. That's a great place to be, because we're present in it.
Kids nowadays will not know what it's like to go to the library and get out the microfiche and look through past newspapers.
Microfiche.
Yeah.
It's that sound. I'm making the sound.
Yeah.
We had index cards.
Yeah.
So the card catalog.
So the card catalog,
Yeah.
and you learned how to read the number of what the book was and where it was in fiction or
Dewey
nonfiction.
Decimal System.
Dewey Decimal System. Yep.
And we don't live in that society anymore.
No.
Everything is so extremely available, and I'm not saying it's all correct.
Right.
We should all figure out what's correct and what's not correct. And if you have questions about what you don't think is correct, and we have to figure that part out.
I will say this. This is a humble brag. My daughter knows how to write in cursive.
Wow.
Okay, this is a high five moment right here.
Right. Everybody. Knuckles. Hey, how many kids could read a road map right now? Hey Siri, how do I get?
Right. And Siri, okay, that's a whole other monster.
I will say this. All else fails. We got everything we need by walking up to the Gas City Brewery.
We do.
Right? I mean, it's just that simple, you guys.
It is.
I mean, conversations like this are had all the time at the brewery.
Oh, and there's some that aren't PG-13, but
Yes, some of them are a little blue. If you're baby boomers, you know what blue means.
Yep.
Some of them are more ribbled. Some of them, but you know what? we have to have a place to go to release all of that, whatever we have that is in us that sometimes we just have to laugh our asses off.
Yeah. And
You
that's,
know?
you know how many times I've been up there? Me and my wife will be up there. We'll be talking to Vince. And,
Who's your wife? Your wife, Beth?
yeah.
Beth, okay.
That one. Yeah.
Isn't laughter the best medicine?
For sure. It is the only way that we can get through the minutia of every day.
And you're
Okay.
exercising all these muscles in your face. No, but
I
what I was
gotta
going to say,
ju-
let me tell you this real
All
quick.
right.
Because if I'm up there with my wife and we're in conversation or whatever, there's times that I'll say something, he'll look at me and he'll look at my wife and he'll just turn around and walk away.
Nice.
Well, if you all know Ted, sometimes there are going to be those moments where you're going to look at Ted, but just looking at him. And something's amiss.
All right. Hear me out here. I got a good one for you. A Roman senator walks into a bar. And he holds up 2 fingers and says, "Give me 5 beers."
And then...
Roman numerals. This,
That's 5.
That's 5.
yeah, this is 5 beers.
Okay, that's a dad joke.
Okay.
I'm just going to... Not really a dad joke, but it is a...
Okay, I got
It's a
another.
thinker. I mean, that's a thinker
Yes.
for sure.
Yep.
A neutron walks into a bar and asks, "How much for a beer?" You know what the bartender replies?
A neutron
For you? Yeah, a neutron.
Okay, Betty White, help me out here.
The bartender replies, "For you, no charge."
God, he needs a laugh track, doesn't he?
Where's it at?
Oh, well, no. Sometimes they don't all land.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't all land.
Well, hey, listen, man, I tried my best.
Hey, they were pretty good. They were, but yeah, I do want to touch on something else though, real quick.
Go ahead, touch on it, man. Touch on it.
Don't touch me, I swear to God, Ted.
He's in the Me Too
I said
era.
touch on, not touch you or him. No,
Okay,
but
train of thought.
just from conversations I've had with Vince, I mean, if somebody needed an interior designer in their house or their business,
Okay.
my gosh,
Okay.
this dude, he's
Call me. Just
It's
because that's really my
crazy.
jam. That's
it's
really my
crazy.
jam.
He knows different. I don't know. Are they flowers or they're not flowers? Or I had to ask my wife.
Well, I mean,
her sister owns a
it's
flower
color
shop, and
theory. I
it's
mean,
like,
there's a lot of
man.
interiors, the architecture. It's a thing. It's an actual career, people.
Yeah,
Which is what I did on the West Coast. But that's neither here nor there. Right now, I am in customer service, and I love it, and it is fantastic. And the people that really enjoy getting great service, come to see us at the brewery, Gas City Brewery.
Yeah,
we've got great beer, great service, fun times. It is, an all-inclusive. We'll welcome anybody, unless, if it's an alien, whatever.
Hey, that's getting pretty popular again now.
Well, don't get me started.
But yeah, I back you 100% on everything you just said about the brewery. I mean that's.
Hey, listen.
It's a groovy place.
It is.
And you'll dig it.
I like the atmosphere.
Yep, and that's.
I like the people. I mean, everybody's always real friendly.
Right.
Nobody's ever been snobby to me about my choice of beverage. And everybody's like real cool.
Well, yeah, and even the owners. I mean, they're.
Okay, can we talk about these owners?
Oh, here we
Yeah,
go.
go ahead.
I'm sure that they would like for me to say something fantastic about all 8 of them. And I'm not going to name them, but there are 8, and they know who they are. And they're great. They're really great.
They are.
Their passion and their drive and their willingness to be a small business in a small town and what they want to see. I mean, we are really sort of a cornerstone of what Gas City can and will become. You know, we've got great things happening in Gas City right now. We've got, you know, the potential of a fantastic music venue. You know, we've got the brewery. We've got, you know, great little shops. You know, we've got artisanal sign shops quite often. So if you need inspirational signs, Gas City is your town. But really, we want all the other businesses in town, Massinawa Cigar Lounge. We want, you know, the Poorhouse to kind of flourish. We want restaurants, you know, from the Mexican restaurants and all the different places, you know,
we had
Chappies and
one hell of a time hosting that trivia sports night up there. It was
kudos
so fun.
to that, because it really was a great event. It raised, you know, a lot of people up. You know, it gave us, you know, a fantastic evening at the brewery. You know, and you guys really did. You guys, that was in the pocket. It really was in the pocket. You know, and I want to say, and this is, we're talking about sports. I want to say, go 49ers.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And speaking of that,
They almost.
they almost blew it.
Yeah, they almost.
But they didn't.
But they didn't.
But just let me say something real quick on that trivia night, because I had mentioned to Conrad that morning. I said, I think it's going to be standing room only.
Yeah.
Yeah, he called it.
He did.
But
it was.
It was. But you guys, I mean, you do got. There's a lot more. You guys, you got the euchre league starting back up, don't you?
We do. We have a euchre league. You guys, we have live music. We've got
Singo.
fantastic single fun.
That's fun. That is fun.
We get around. We all sing at the top of our lungs, like little snippets of songs, and there's bingo and there's prizes, and it's just really, it's super fun. You know, you can come in, you know, get a few beers, you know, great beer. You can hang out with your friends. You can meet new people, and that's what's great about it.
Or you can mind your own business.
Or you can just sit there and chill, you know, and fuck around with your phone, which happens too.
And you can bring food in, right?
Right. You know, we have a situation where we're just a brewery, but we can absolutely, we have, you know, we've got menus at the bar. Some places will deliver, some places won't, but you can absolutely bring your, you can bring in a potluck if you'd like, you know, which, you know, happened last night. We had a fantastic performer by the name of Sierra Haskin, and she was in, and we had people bring in, you know, potato soup and chili. And we just all sat around, and we were a community, and that's really what we're doing. You know, we're creating a community of people that want to see small town America evolve. And that's what we're doing, is we're evolving, you know, into a great little place to hang out.
It is. It is. And speaking, not just the things that you guys do throughout the week or every other week, but are there some plans for out back that you can share?
Well, you know, here's the thing. Here's the sitch, I think the kids call it, which is short for situation. I don't know why we can't just say situation.
Hey, you know what?
He knows all that.
Let me just tell you something right
You got
now.
some kiddos, don't you?
Yeah. So let me just tell you.
Throw some on. Let's go.
Okay. All right. No cap.
Shout out to Kirk.
Drip. Sauce. Riz. Listen, I want to.
Really, Riz?
Let me just tell you something. So it makes it worse when you say sitch, and then you go, which is so short for situation. The kids
and not the guy from Jersey Shore.
Because the kids will go, oh man, that's so cringe when you do that. And I'm like, wait, is that short for cringy? And they're like, yeah. Or they'll say, no, it's not. Yeah, it's like, nah, that. And I'm like, so I shouldn't add the. Which is short for situation. They just want you to say it.
It's just gnarly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like when somebody.
Spicoli.
Yeah, it's like when somebody does impression of somebody and then goes, Bill Cosby.
Oh.
You know,
Jello, motherfucker.
Jello pudding pops. They're like, Bill Cosby. Yeah, we know that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Bill Cosby.
Hey, yeah. This
Anyway,
California, so
that's another story.
you talk about Cosby or OJ or, you know.
Or Flory or Roofy or...
Okay.
What's Flory?
Okay. You guys are cut off.
I don't know Flory.
Flory is when you wake up on the floor.
Yeah, that's college.
Roofy,
You are too old to be on the floor.
Floor, okay. See, I gotta ask Conrad sometimes what some of these little words
Well, as
these
you
kids
should,
use.
because you want to be educated.
Well, the thing
Because how are
about
you
it
going to
is,
communicate with the future generations?
I'm far too old to be saying, man, I'm just...
Wait. What's far too old?
Well,
Not as
okay,
old as that.
so
Watch yourself.
well, so my terms are like dude and like, and I still catch myself. I'm like, hey, dude,
Right.
whether you're a man or a woman
Right, I'm the same way.
or whatever your pronoun is, I'm like,
bro.
dude,
Yeah.
I don't bro you that often, but like, but I'll dude you like up and down. I'll be like, dude, like for real, dude.
Right. He does.
You
He says
serious?
that a lot.
I'm like, come on, dude.
Right.
So with my kids though, they're like, I'm far too old to say, hey man, check out my drip. I just got sauce everywhere.
Okay.
Bro, you're
That
capping.
is out of my vernacular right there.
Yeah, bro, you're capping right now. You're capping.
I'm lost.
So like capping's like a lie. So I'm like, oh, you're
Okay.
capping. That's straight cap, or you know. I'm too old to be saying you're capping.
And that's different than Captain Crunch.
Yeah. See, I'm more like, man,
It's
stop.
Cap'n. It is Cap'n Crunch.
Because in my
Cap'n,
day and age, I'm like, dude, stop fibbing. You're fibbing right now.
Right. Or fronting.
Yeah.
Right, fronting.
Hey,
Yeah.
dude, are you serious? What's a 411 on the sitch?
Right.
See, he just used dude in that sentence.
Yeah, dude.
So, yeah, dude. See,
Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah, dude.
There used to be a show on Nickelodeon called Hey Dude. You remember that?
No.
Nope. Darn, my kids watch that.
That's not true. I remember that.
Let's
I don't
see.
remember that. I don't have kids. Creepy. Okay. But I do have my finger on the pulse, which is even creepier.
On the pulse of anybody who grew up in the 80s.
Okay, I'm going to retract that.
And they're no longer alive. The pulse is, there's no pulse.
That's a.
What's that beep sound in the
they flatlined.
Wait. Since we're speaking of age and stuff now, let's.
Okay.
I'm going back because somebody posted something the other day about. Yeah, I'm so old I can remember. You know, I couldn't get up and look at my phone. They say school's canceled. You had to watch the TV channel. It goes
ticker.
across the
The
bottom of the
ticker tape
screen.
along the bottom
yeah.
of the TV. Right.
It never said
Now,
Mrs.
Ted, did you only
Cinderella.
have 3 channels?
Yep.
When,
Back in the day, and I had to actually get up and go turn the knob on the
No
TV.
remote? You were the
Nope,
human
no
remote.
Yeah.
Okay.
The color console TV. The TV that was inside a fake-looking cabinet.
Right. But that was cabinetry,
That
which is a
was-
lost art, really.
And you know what? You could go and you could tell if they were watching TV. You could put your hand on top of the TV. It's warm.
And it hummed, didn't it?
You weren't supposed to be watching TV. Why is the TV warm?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Right.
And
Like
then,
Battle of the Network Stars? Is that what we used to watch?
Oh yeah. That's
I watched like the Muppet Show. And,
Fraggle Rock.
So he might be
No,
a
that-
couple years younger than us.
He's a little bit.
okay, so Fraggle Rock was HBO, and only
HBO.
somebody who had a better off family had
Right,
HBO.
exactly.
Props to Jim Henson on all of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dark Crystal? I mean,
Yeah.
seriously? Took it to a
Emmett-
whole nother level.
Emmett Otter and the Jug Band Christmas.
Okay, you lost me with that.
Oh, that's you gotta find that.
Oh man, I could tell a wonderful story about Emmett Otter and the Jug Band Christmas and some. No, I'm not going to even go there.
I
Probably
I could
best.
put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. But
It was a yeah.
See, because that's like, you know, a lot of times up there at the brewery we'll get talking about past television shows or movies. And
We really need to do a 1970s sitcom trivia night.
we could
really
do that.
Because really, I'm going to say it, that's somewhat of our demographic of people that live in
like
town here.
Three's Company.
It is,
and-
you're
Oh,
right.
yeah. Okay, so yes. Okay, so last year, 2023, rolled in as the cast, wait for it, of Three's Company.
Oh, my.
We took over the Regal Beagle like nobody's business.
The Regal
Now, wait,
Beagle.
so who all was involved in this?
Well, to be honest, there was 4 of us. Okay, so there was a Janet, there was a Jackie, there was a Chrissy, and there were Mr. and Mrs. Roper.
Mr. and Mrs. Roper.
And I can't give you names because I've been sworn to secrecy.
One day at a time.
Right. Present or the past? Are we talking about
The original One Day at a Time. What was the name of the maintenance man?
Schroeder?
Close.
Schneider.
Schneider.
What city did that take place in?
San Fran.
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis.
Is that the one Valerie Bertinelli was on?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Wife of.
Eddie
Van Halen.
That's right.
Rest in peace.
Yep.
R.I.P. homie. Chico and the Man.
Oh, man.
I mean, who didn't like Chico and the Man?
That was great.
Who didn't like Chico
Mork and Mindy. Like 70s
Boulder,
trivia.
Colorado. I mean, seriously.
Let's-
Yeah.
All,
I
the
mean,
fam-
we
all the family.
8 is enough.
well, that was a little
60s and
yes, that was
70s.
60s. Yeah,
Started
that was
the 60s.
groundbreaking TV, you guys.
Yep. Oh,
Groundbreaking
yeah.
TV. I mean, not that Bridgerton is not groundbreaking TV,
The
but
Ropers.
it's different.
Ropers.
The Ropers,
Ropers had
the
2
Ropers, yeah, that
seasons.
was what they called a spin-off, kids. That was a spin-off.
From.
Benson.
Three's Company.
Yep.
Correct. Benson,
Benson.
also a spin-off of what TV show?
Hold on.
It's the one with
He was a
what
butler,
you
right?
talking about, Willis?
No.
Different.
No,
That's different
that's not
stuff.
different
What you talking
strokes.
about, Willis? What you talking about, Willis?
Okay, I'm just gonna say it's soap.
Soap. Yeah.
So-
Billy Crystal was.
So, wasn't Tony Danza in Soap?
Well, Tony Danza was in a little tiny show called Taxi.
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 And then
And then he moved on up
Yeah.
to
moving
the
on
suburbs
up
of
to
New
the-
Hampshire
but-
and Who's the Boss?
Yeah.
and Alyssa Milano.
All right,
Yeah.
take,
Down,
it, take it
Ted.
down a pound, Ted. Take it down a
Jeez,
pound.
Ted.
You seen her these days?
Yeah, doesn't she have her own sports line?
No, I haven't found that.
I think
yet.
she
think
has her
so.
own sports
I
line
think she
for
does.
women, where she has trademarked sports apparel for women. Don't ask me what it is because I
No,
couldn't
no,
tell
wait.
you.
You were starting to sing "Moving On Up."
Well, no, I was.
You were saying "Moving On Up" to New
I am
Hampshire.
not a singer. I'm more of a dancer. So I just
Well,
Listen,
what show was "Moving On Up"?
the Jeffersons.
moving on up.
But
to
what
the
about-
top, to
what
a
a-
deluxe apartment in the sky
sky
high?
What about Barney Miller?
Oh,
Did you-
yeah, that was
like,
good.
Barney Miller, yeah, and
Fish.
yeah.
They
I mean,
would
I
go to-
wasn't crazy about Barney Miller. I do like a cop
Check all those shows, yeah.
Right. How's it pronounced? Procedural.
procedural.
Yeah. Like Law and Order and things like that. But when it comes to comedy, Cop Rocks maybe really is the.
You could
is the show.
probably find all these shows and stream them. Every show that we mentioned for anybody under the age of 30 who's not getting what we're saying.
Right. And please do, because it will help you in any sort of trivia event or any sort of TikTok something or other that you might need for future. I mean, my hope.
Useless knowledge.
Okay, so my hope is that in order to be hired into a high-paying job, that you will have to know little bits of trivial information in order to get your job. Right, Ted?
I agree,
I mean,
but
you look.
no, you're saying that, but I'm thinking kids these days don't even know history.
Well, and that's unfortunate. I mean,
come on.
Conversations are had quite often about the lack of that sort of historical, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Columbus landed when? I mean, it's one of those.
1412.
Right. Okay. Kudos to Ted.
I thought it was 1492.
Fact check.
That was 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right?
Yeah. I mean, we all learned that on a fantastic cartoon called.
Oh, wait.
Come on, Ted. You got this.
It was a cartoon, or was it?
It was a Saturday.
The commercials.
Saturday morning. Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. But that was like, was that a show, or was that like?
It was a show on Saturday
I thought that was like
mornings.
the commercials between.
Well, I think that they advertised quite a bit to the masses.
Yep, and that's-
But it was definitely, I mean, and okay, so Conrad's looking at me like, what? is
No,
Schoolhouse
I remember
You do-
Channel
okay.
13 would be like, do you know where your kids are?
Yeah.
Right. Do you guys remember the after-school specials?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
were good.
how did we get by without an after-school
I
special?
think I remember one that where they took acid and they jumped out a window and
That's Academy Award winner Jodie Foster that did that. You know that, right?
no.
I mean, she was
They were
on
like,
fire. Yeah, she was on PCP, you guys.
Oh, PCP, that's what it was. Yeah, and I steered clear from PCP from that.
Yeah, and thank God, because you learned something.
Yeah.
You learned something. And that's media for you.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Teaching us a lesson.
Well, true. Like you said, you had Schoolhouse Rock that would throw this stuff out there, or the commercial where
Junction.
they got an egg frying in
What's
the.
your function?
This is your brain on drugs. Oh, that egg frying.
Yeah,
See-
that was the president's wife, Nancy Reagan. That was her big push.
Do you remember the commercial where the dad walked in with a cigar box and he'd say, "Is this yours, Bobby or Tommy?"
Recall that.
And he's like, "Where'd you learn this?" He's like, "I learned it from you, Dad. From you, Dad."
I mean, that is just heart-wrenching.
He's
isn't
like,
it?
"Yeah, because you're rolling a fatty wrong."
Right.
No, I'm
These
kidding.
are
No,
not the
no,
right
no.
papers.
Or the Marlboro Man, remember? The guy's sitting up against the tree.
Right.
And his little son's right beside
Right.
him and reaches over there and.
We're showing our age, Teddy.
Dude,
We're showing it.
Let's bring it back.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back.
bring it back.
Let's bring it back to when we were talking about the hops.
Hops.
So-
like at the hop, like from the 50s?
No sock hops.
Okay.
But the brewery hops.
Okay, gotcha.
Give me your top 5.
Okay, you know what?
Give me your top 5 craft beers, and then give me your top 5. Hey, I'm drinking at a party just to get hammered.
Okay, so let me get, so the top 5 beers that we're at Gas City Brewery, originally named River Rat Brewery, but nobody has to know that.
That got taken away.
We my top 5. Okay, so that's the Mayor's Vanilla Bean Porter. I've got the Argyle Scottish Ale, the Kolschen and the Cruisin', which is a German lager. I also am a fan of the Dark IPA Reverse Mullet, the Rat King, which is an Imperial Stout. Do I have one more, Ted, or is that,
yeah,
is
go
that
ahead and go
5?
one more.
One more. Okay, one more. Okay, so off the top of my head, we're gonna probably go with and it's probably not on tap at the moment, but I do enjoy the. This is pressure. Can you feel the pressure on me right now?
You're sweating.
I'm going to say the Cremazing, which is probably the most phenomenal see-through beer that we have at the brewery.
Yep.
The most popular, one of Ted's personal favorites.
Yep.
And once you see Ted on about 5 of them, you're going to see a whole new Ted.
Yes, you will.
But if I'm at a party, if I'm at a party and I'm bringing beer that's distributed, I'm going to say, honestly, there is a brew from Northern California called Red Nectar.
Red Nectar?
Red Nectar.
Okay.
And it's got a hummingbird on the bottle, and it's an IPA, but it's an amber IPA. That's probably one of my favorites. I'm also a fan of I love a good Guinness. I love a good poured Guinness. Not the nitro Guinness, but like a poured tap. I mean, we're not fortunate enough in Grant County to have any Guinness. Well, that's not true. There is some Guinness on tap that we thank you for that pour, Conrad. I appreciate that, and cheers to you.
Cheers.
But I do like a good Guinness. I like a good snake bite. If anybody wants to do a hard cider with a Guinness float, that's a snake bite. I'm a fan of that.
Oh my!
If I'm doing shots, I'm gonna have to say the Purple Hooter really is one of my favorites, and what's one of my favorite drinks to make. If you're a fan of Grape Crush, this is your jam. Little Chambord, little vodka, a little sweet and sour, a little splash of soda, shake it up, pour it in a glass, and it incorporates well with the rest of the festivities that might be taking place in your drinking arsenal.
Teddy,
We need to have a cookout.
yeah. What are yours?
What's your go-to?
What's your go-to at the craft?
At brewery?
At the brewery.
Man, I'll tell you what.
Gas City Brewery?
I'll tell you, the peach was always one of my favorites.
Right, okay. Right. The Peach Blonde.
Cremazing.
Cremazing. Yeah, I have poured a couple of Cremazings for you.
I appreciate that. Spotted Rat. I like the Spotted Rat.
Yeah, that's a farmhouse ale.
Boomtown Blonde. Did I
Right.
say that one yet?
Yep.
And I don't know. I can drink a Mayor's Porter on occasion.
Right, as a dessert beer.
Yeah,
of
so
sorts,
that's,
right. As a nightcap, would you call it?
Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be like when I'm heading home.
Right.
Or what's the one that's 8.0?
The Rat King? Are you talking about the Imperial Stout?
Yeah. That's,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them.
But at a party.
Oh, that's.
So before you get up on the tables, what do you drink?
He's a latte man. He is a latte man.
Okay, I beg to differ.
Well, let's go. Okay. The first beer I ever had was Olympia, which was made by Coors.
Correct. Okay. I recall.
And then Coors.
Not because I'm as old as Ted, but because I had parents that were about his age.
And that's because back then you could buy Olympia in Indiana, but you could not buy Coors.
Yeah.
Why is that? Distribution rights or something
I
crazy?
remember I had a brother that's 10 years older than me, and he would go to Colorado a couple years ago and buy a bunch of Coors and bring it back for all his buddies.
Okay.
The banquet beer?
The banquet beer.
And that's a proper beer, you guys. That really is a good Pilsner.
It is, and it's now they still come in them little 12-ounce bottles, the little round ones, and
What did they call those little bottles? I mean, they were like, were they shorties? Were they?
yeah, that's because I can go back and I can remember Little King's Cream Ale.
Okay, so that is not something I've ever had. And I do recall somebody telling me recently that there is a bar in Muncie, Indiana called Savages
Really?
that still serves Little Kings. So you can go.
Savage.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Savages is a place somebody told me that you can get like a grilled cheese extravaganza sandwich with some Little Kings for very low dough. And that's always a good thing.
They're called stubby bottles.
Stubbies.
Stubbies.
Right. Now, would a stubby bottle be a...
So like the Mickeys.
Yeah.
Did you
That's
ever
where I was
drink
going. Yes,
Did you
that's
ever
a
drink
malt-
Mickeys?
That's a malt liquor.
That's a malt.
See,
Yep.
That's a malt
I
liquor.
remember as a kid.
Yes, I've had lost memories of Mickey's Big Mouth.
And I take this back. I wasn't a kid. I use the term kid because when I was 21, I was an idiot. So
As we all were. As we all.
so we would get these Mickeys, and there'd be 2 or 3 of us. And now to think about it, like now I could probably drink a 12-pack of Mickeys by myself, but
Right.
2 or 3 of us,
Yeah,
we'd get a case of Mickeys, and we think it was funny because the little weird factoids that would be under the cap. And
I think that was Snapple.
Snapple also did that, but the
No,
Mickeys,
there was a factoid on Mickey's
yeah,
Big Mouth.
those little bee We called it the stinger because those bees would sting you, and
Yes.
you wouldn't remember what you did.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, you remember that now.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't drink Mickey's.
Hey, and that's a malt liquor, kids.
Yeah.
The Colt 45s.
Colt 45s, yeah, that was, and you buy a 32 ounce of it, and you keep it in a brown paper bag, and
Right.
you're cool if you did that.
Like
you
a
know.
wino.
Yeah. Speaking of winos, what was the big thing back in the day? Strawberry Hill, Booth Farm, Strawberry Hill.
I remember seeing people like chugging Mad Dog 2020 when
Yeah.
you would want to see that purple puke.
That's not a good visual.
It's not a good look at all.
No.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did anybody ever drink Falstaff?
Falstaffs.
Hams.
Okay, Rolling Rock.
Rolling Rock hams?
yeah,
Hams.
Rolling
for
Rock's
sure.
hard.
Strohs.
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 Yeah, that's part of my upbringing. I got lucky, really, growing up on the West Coast because I was weaned early on with the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, which is out of Chico, California, and they actually have a location, I believe it's in South Carolina or North Carolina. Don't quote me on that. But it really did propel me into understanding what style of beer is. You know, we don't live in Germany.
Right.
You know, we don't live in Belfast. We don't live in Ireland or Russia or, you know, which are fantastic purveyors of, and they've been making beer for centuries. And we are lucky enough that we've got, you know, like Gas City Brewery that does take that into mind when we're crafting beer.
Right.
Is that we want, you know, the pureness of, you know, we're not in the Prohibition anymore, you guys.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
there was a time that Prohibition happened, blah, 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 and there were speakeasies and that. And I think that as we've evolved as humans, I think we understand now that we don't all have to drink to get drunk. Sometimes we just drink to enjoy the taste and getting together with friends. And, you know, granted, there are times that you're going to get to a point when I'm going to say who's driving.
Yep.
And you have to be conscious of that.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have an Uber fleet to take us home, you guys. So we have to be really conscientious of that. And with craft beer, we have to be also conscientious of the ABV.
Yes.
You know, and we have to think about what we're drinking. I mean, when you're looking at a domestic beer, you've got predominantly a 5% per volume in a beer. There are craft beers that are going to be either higher or lower. So when you are in a proper brewery, they're going to give you your ABVs. And I'm going to say it, it's like the caloric intake that you are seeing in restaurants now that will allow you to understand where we have to be present when we are drinking and we are being responsible drinkers. And that's really, really important.
Yeah, and it's,
Be conscious of what you're doing.
Right.
If you feel like this is something that I've recognized, Ted. I know exactly when, if I start to like feel a little disoriented, I'm
Sideways.
done.
Time's
done.
done.
Yep,
That's sideways.
Done.
see, and I'm the same way. I'm
Done.
not going to keep going.
Done.
Give me a water or a soda and till
And definitely-
so-and-so's done, and then
And
whatever.
definitely do that. You got to stay
And
hydrated.
we have to look out for others too. I mean, we have to be honest with our friends. Like,
Right.
hey, you know, check yourself because we are all responsible for one another.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's true, and
that's being a real friend.
Yeah.
That's being a real friend.
That's being a real friend.
It's being a real friend.
Did you see that meme that's going around now that
Ted, what's a meme?
them little
I thought he was going to say Mimi. Have you ever seen that
pictures
Mimi?
of that'd be somebody's grandma.
I thought that was the actress on the Drew Carey show.
The redhead lady? The redhead lady?
That wasn't her name, Mimi?
I think so.
You know what? I enjoy a good moo-moo. They need to bring that back.
Did you say moo? Are we talking house dresses now?
Yeah, there's nothing like seeing a woman in a moo.
a voluptuous woman in a moo
and slippers with curlers on.
Oh gosh, who doesn't miss curlers? Because all of our parents came and picked us up from school in curlers and a
bathrobe.
Or shower cap.
Yeah, just to embarrass all of us. So you kids have it so easy.
Yes, they do.
The smell. When I was little, if I was sick for school that day, I had to go with my grandmother to the beauty shop.
It smells like
The
perm.
beauty operator.
It would smell like Aquanet and Virginia Slims.
Yeah, proper.
And they should never have been smoking around Aquanet.
Could you imagine?
Dude.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
this is like
and you forget the perforating smell of perm solution.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember perms?
Oh yes.
The perm
That was the
solution
worst.
is a real smell.
I'm pretty certain
nasty.
the hole in the ozone was from the aerosol can Aquanet.
I love the 70s.
Me too.
Hey man, you got anything else for Vince? We've been keeping him for a minute. We appreciate you taking
Well, thanks
this
for having
your
me.
Sunday.
I was a little nervous coming into this, but Ted and I have talked about this. Conrad and I have talked about this, and this is the thing. You guys, we're all here to experience life, and we're here to experience the effect of what we have on each other, and that's a great thing. That's a really great, awesome thing. And I'm very grateful and humbled and appreciative of this time that I've spent with you guys.
Hey,
And we
thank you.
appreciate you, and we appreciate the job you do uptown. I mean, you're
Cheers, guys.
the best. That's But no, I was talking about that thing I saw posted. Let me bring that up real quick because it was like this guy said, "I'm one of them guys that I will talk trash to my buddy. I'll make fun of him. I'll laugh at him, but I've also got his back."
That's part of being a buddy.
That's right. That's
you're
right.
supposed to. I'll forever be known as Rumble Strips.
Yes.
There's got to be backstory.
No, we're not going to tell that on here. We're not going to tell that on here. We'll talk about it after.
That's R-rated.
And I guess we're going into a station identification moment.
I haven't heard that since the 70s or 80s.
Please hear a word from our sponsor.
But thank you so much.
Yeah,
we appreciate you
thanks,
coming
Vince.
I
on.
thank you.
This is Garage Talk.